Well, the big team news from last weekend was all about Barnsley and the Angling Trust Division 1 National Championship. They've gone and done it again. According to Lee Kerry's post, I haven't had a chance to go into all the results over the past few years, but I think it was Lee Kerry's post said that Barnsley have just won their third national championship in 5 years. Absolutely incredible, over the moon for him and all the lads associated with that team. I only, when I grew up, it was only probably 12 or 13 miles away from Barnsley, so obviously going through junior rankings, through the England setup as well for a year or two, having a team like that so close to me was it was such a benefit to me. They used to run evening matches on Worsborough Reservoir. I don't know if they were Wednesday evenings, or my dad used to take me up there and we used to walk up there. We'll have a walk around when the evening match was on, and obviously you've got the likes of, obviously Andy Kinder was up there at the time, but you've got Alan Scott on, Cleggy, I think Dick Clegg was running the setup then and everything, and you could walk around the wall, around the dam head, and you were literally looking down onto the anglers, and they were fishing. A lot of it was pole fishing, and you could see the bait trays and everything. You could walk the full length of the Sheffield Bank, as they called it there, and it was just an incredible arena to learn, and to learn from. And those anglers have just been in an incredible team for years and years. So even obviously, though I'm not part of that setup, it was just great to see them win another national championship. The thing that sprung to mind for me was they've had a dominance on the River Trent for years and years now. Even going back to when I was a kid, they just dominated on the Trent. Now the interesting thing from my point of view is that back on the Trent in those days, they were actually on there every week. They got to learn the moods of the river, about the water clarity, what fish would feed in certain conditions, what the conditions were like in the week leading up to the event, so they could kind of almost predict how it was going to fish. Now, you got used to that, like the Alan Scott Owens and all the lads, back then. They were John Allerton and Keith Hobson. They were all fishing in that side, and they obviously knew the river inside out. The ironic thing now is that you've seen them dominate on that river as well, but if you look at that team, those lads certainly haven't grown up on the river. There's so much youth or younger anglers in that squad now and in that team that they haven't really grown up on that river, but the anglers are such a strong side, and that knowledge, what the older anglers have passed on to them about the river, is obviously just rubbing off on them. And absolutely incredible performance. I haven't had the luxury, the pleasure to go through all the results yet, but I will do. I'll sit down and have a cup of tea and go through them, and I'm sure there's one or two highlights that I can highlight to you in future videos about how certain sections fished, because let's face it, it's a fascinating river, and it's great to see an event like that in these years that team fishing isn't anywhere near as strong or as popular as what it once was. It's great to see that by winning a competition like that, it's such a high profile event. It's great to see that there's teams like that putting so much importance to it. So fantastic result, well done lads, absolutely awesome. Well, I don't mind admitting to you, I was last weekend I was a little bit I was like a kid on Christmas Eve. I was going into fishing my first match in 3 weeks. I've only fished 2 matches since I got back from Italy. One of them was at Larford 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then last weekend just gone. I was fortunate enough to get a ticket swap for the Feeder Masters qualifier. Somebody kindly wanted to swap a Carmill ticket for a Southfield ticket, and obviously I'd always go down the Southfield route if they were the only options I had. So I went to Southfield, and I've got to admit, I couldn't wait to get on the bank. I couldn't believe, I surprised myself how keen and excited I was just to be going on a match. It was absolutely fantastic. The conditions were a little bit tough. They kind of turned against how they had been. We had a strong wind blowing, and as you know, on Southfield it's only that deep. You get a bit of tow on it. It was overcast all day, it was threatening to rain. Certainly not the conditions we've been used to, but I like that venue under those conditions. I just think that movement, it just kind of wakes fish up. I think it spreads them out a little bit as well. But like I say, I haven't fished there in a match for about a year. I did film it, so I know a lot of people have already been asking, so I'll be bringing that to this channel on YouTube within the next 2 or 3 days. Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss that. It's just, I've done it a little bit different, that video, I'll pre-warn you. I actually filmed and shot part of the video, the introduction part, here in the tackle room the night before. I've never done that before. In the night did it on the night before, and I just kind of wanted to outline my plan, what it was going to be, what I kind of expected, what kind of kit I was going to use as well. So that, I think, is just a nice little twist on it, because then obviously when it goes into the live match itself, you can obviously see where I draw and how it fishes and how I kind of change things throughout the session. Thankfully, I managed to get a result and win the zone, which means I've managed to get a place in the Feeder Masters final, the £12,000 final down at Bower Beach in September. It'll be great to be going back there, I've got to admit. I didn't expect anything from that match, even though I'm super confident on Southfield. You know, I really enjoy it. I think it can be very, very fair. I never expected to get a result, but I was just amazed at how pleased I was to just get back on the bank. Chris Greensides went on and won the match. Fantastic performance, well done mate, a brilliant weight of £41 I think it was. I don't know if that was pegged 49, I think it was. He just smashed the match up, absolutely brilliant mate, obviously won his zone as well, so he qualified for the final. And Bobcat Hall, again, you know, he keeps getting results. He won his zone. I'm not sure what peg he was on, but he won his zone, so he has secured a place in the final as well. Well done Bob mate, absolutely awesome. And I think I'm right in saying, I'm not entirely sure, I think that might mean 3 more Sheffielders in the Feeder Masters final. Like I say, I did film that match, so anybody what's interested in watching that, just hit subscribe. It'll be on here in the next probably 2 or 3 days as soon as I've had a chance to put it together for you, so hopefully you'll enjoy that when it's uploaded. Well, once again, I just want to apologise that there haven't been more uploads. This kind of once a week thing is kind of all I'm capable of at the moment. But like I said, the Thursday night vlogs will be coming on like this every week. And then obviously if I've got a live match video to upload, I'll do that in between. So please hit subscribe, you'll be kept in the loop with all the future uploads. I've had loads of messages come in again this week. Thank you so much for sending them in. That is obviously giving me content that I can obviously use to deliver to you what you want to see and watch. So loads of questions come in. I've been doing only 3 on a Thursday, but I've got more than that tonight for you, just so I can have a catch up and just as a bit of a thank you to everyone who's been sending them in. So they've been coming in through Messenger, through email, various different sources. Okay, so the first one that came up this morning was, "Hi Jamie, we used to fish with catapults years and years ago, where we used to loose feed ground bait across onto a bomb or feeder line. Do you ever use catapults now?" The only place where I hear that, where they're actually doing that now, currently, is Loch Ken. I hear a lot of them, of the bomb and ball as it were, catapulting balls of ground bait out, for people that don't know what I mean by that, but catapulting balls of ground bait out and then casting a bomb over the top. And I believe they do that at range as well. Some of the lads up there, I don't know the names, but some of the lads up there are really, really good at it. They're very, very accurate, and they catch loads of skimmers and bream doing that. In answer to the question, no, there isn't any room for catapults in my matches that I fish, purely because they're not allowed. Okay, most of them are feeder matches or feeder only matches, and that just means you cannot use catapults in any way. So if you find you need to introduce a large volume of bait, then we tend to have to do it with large cages. "Hi Jamie, can you tell me how often you change your hook lengths and hooks?" It depends on the session, okay? If you're catching loads of fish, you'll probably inevitably find that all of a sudden you'll, say if you're fishing maggot for example, you'll go to put a fresh maggot on, a fresh hook, and it'll just kind of burst, or you'll just notice that the hook is not quite as sharp as it was when you first put it on. Change it, okay? We all carry hook lengths now, ready tied. There's loads of different boxes and on the market now where you can carry ready tied hooks, and it's so easy. These have just got little pins in them. You just peel another one off, bite the other one off and put a fresh one on. It literally takes seconds. Keep that, or just a spool that you expect to be using, on your side tray or in your drawer, so you can get to it nice and quickly and easily. Because one of the things is, if you do find that your hook is quite not as sharp as it was, it tends to mean it's because you're catching fish. So to change the hook length, it means because you're catching fish, you want to be changing that as quick as you possibly can, so you can get back in and catch more fish. I change them quite often, I'll be totally honest. Obviously if you're fishing a snaky peg or a natural venue, you know, it's always wise, if you can, just check the hook length as well to see if there's any nicks in it. Even just catching fish and netting fish, just your hook length rubbing on the ring of your landing net, that can wear out as well. So just check it every time you bring it in, check it, and if you're in any sort of a doubt, if you're in a match, just change it. It's just not worth taking the chance. "Hi Jamie, I've noticed that sometimes you fish with duplicate rod setups. I've done that before, but sometimes forget which rod is which." I'm sure we've all done it at some stage. Basically the question, you know, a lot of the time we're fishing with duplicate setups. You might have two rods, identical rods set up at the side of you with two identical reels. They might have the same line or braid on them, but they will be clipped up at different ranges. How, basically they're asking, can you distinguish between the two? Because sometimes, I mean, a match, for example, that I fished at the weekend at Southfield Reservoir, I was kind of having to change lines quite frequently, and it's easy to get mixed up. I understand totally what that question is all about. Sometimes you might have four rods, you know, set up at the side of you. One quick and easy way that I do it is like this. I'm sure you'll agree that today's feeder fishing circuit and the competitions we're fishing in, especially some of these big money qualifiers, competition has never been so fierce, and it's quite common now for us to have several and duplicate rods set up. One of the things that I keep getting questions about, just little tricks and tips about when you've got duplicate rods set up, is sometimes you might have three duplications set up on your roost. You know, you might have three of the rods that are the same and three of the reels that are the same, all clipped up at different ranges or different areas. One of the things that I know certain people get confused about, and especially in the heat of a match when you're changing lines quickly and you're forever switching between different rods, is just marking them up, how, you know, you can tell and quickly and easily distinguish which rod is which. One thing that I did a few years ago was just kind of get a length of pole elastic, just tie a loop in it, and I put that on the butt of the rod that is my shortest range rod. I've always done it, and it only took me a couple of sessions for that just to become second nature now. So when I look down at my roost, I know that whichever one's got the pole elastic around it, that is the one that is clipped up at the shortest range. Hi Jamie, I never hear you talk about catching or landing pike. Do they ever come into play in today's competitions? No, I can't really remember. I might be wrong, but I cannot remember off the top of my head a competition where pike were actually allowed. So I can't remember any match where they are. So as far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of matches that I fish, pike are not allowed. So, you know, half of the time it's just not really worth trying to land them. Hi Jamie, do you ever use popped up maggots? Yes, sometimes. Often not really popped up, but more kind of floating. Well, we use the term floating. Basically it means that you're doing something to the maggots to make them fall a lot slower. If you can get them to pop up and that's what you want to achieve and can catch doing that, then brilliant. Obviously that lends itself to catching fish up in the water. A lot of people do it in Ireland, you know, where they're catching hybrids up in the water or roach, and I know people do that in this country as well. Like when they're fishing for roach, it just tends to be a case of you know, slowing the fall down of the hook bait after your feeders hit the bottom. So, but there's all sorts of different variables in that as well, which I'm sure could almost warrant a video on itself. You know, the diameter of your hook length as well, that will determine how the speed that it falls through the water because of the resistance, and the weight of your hook as well. Obviously that'll have an impact. The length of the tail from your feeder or from your link to your hook as well, that will all have an impact. So there's lots of variables there, but the answer to the question is yes, on some occasions we do still use popped up maggots. Hi Jamie, we noticed in your video last week about molasses, you never mentioned the reason why I use it. Yes, that's true. Last week's video I mentioned about molasses. Somebody asked me about it and asked what kind of occasions I use it, and I did explain that. What I didn't mention was using it because of its sweetness. You know, there are different, obviously, aspects to using molasses, why people select to use it, that is. One of them I didn't mention was the sweetness. Yes, for those that don't know, molasses is very, very sweet as well. So some people use it to sweeten up their mix as well, you know, where they're going for fish that they think will respond to a sweeter mix. Okay, so that is another quality of using molasses. Hi Jamie, how many hook lengths do you tend to carry? It depends where I'm going. I tend to carry, and everyone knows that I like to try and keep things as simple as I possibly can. I don't like to carry loads and loads of tackle to the bank if I can help it. I just find I tend to be a lot more focused and efficient by not having loads of gear on the bank. More often than not, it depends on what venue I'm going to, in my tackle room I'll have two of those. Okay, now you can see, I mean this one's not full, I'm in the middle of putting these together for Ireland now, but you can see that holds quite a few spools in there. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 12, so there's 24 spools there, and you can imagine you probably get 8 or 10 hooks on each one. Okay, so what I tend to do is have a box like that with barbless hooks in. Okay, so if I'm going to a commercial where it's barbless hooks only, I can just put that in my bag and that is it. On the flip side of that, I'll have another one of those. I've got another one of those that says barbed on it, and that's obviously got my barbed patterns in there as well. Okay, simple as that. And then I've got the smaller version, which I haven't got to hand, the smaller version which is for the method hook lengths as well. And that is it. Those 3 boxes cover all my fishing. Hi Jamie, you often talk about keeping things nice and simple. How do you carry your feeders? There are loads of different ways of carrying your feeders. Some people like to just put them in a box like that, all mixed up in it, and they'll take that to the peg with them. What I like to do is, if I'm going on a festival, for example, I tend to find out roughly what kind of feeders I'm going to be using. You know, say for example, I've got a feeder festival at Larford at the end of October. I kind of know what feeders I'm going to be using there. You know, it's going to be a selection of method feeders and a few cage feeders, and that is it. So I would be able to put that amount of feeders in that kind of box. The thing is, on commercials as well, you're not fishing snaggy pegs as well, so you're not going to be losing them. So if you do really want to cut down on your kit, if you've got long walks or you're traveling in a vehicle with other people, they're the times when you might want to cut down and just kind of streamline everything. They're the occasions when you can do it. At the moment, I'm currently getting all my kit ready for the World Pairs, and as you can imagine, the World Pairs are going to be on a different venue every single day, and there can be different scenarios there. Yes, you might end up using the same sort of feeder each day, but you've got to have others with you just in case, because you never really know what kind of scenario you're going to be faced with. These boxes are brilliant for that because they're not too big and they're not too small. These are double-sided ones. You've seen me use these before, and I've just been putting some of these together. I'm just putting some together now for Ireland, where you can just, even when they're full, you know, they're not too heavy, they're not too big and heavy, and you know, there's still a really nice selection of feeders in there. So there's loads of different ways of carrying feeders. It depends how organised you want to be and how much kit you really want to carry. Well, that's raised through a few questions for you tonight. Thank you so much for sending them in. I've still got loads more that I need to get through, but like I say, I don't want to do them all in one big hit and make it too boring for you. Please keep them coming in, either on email, messenger, or just the best place, to be fair, is in the comments section underneath each video. Well, I've got to admit, one of the main questions that I keep getting asked all the time, especially when I'm on the bank, is just about time management. People know that I work full time, I'm like you guys, but obviously I still like to keep myself busy, pushing projects forward and doing this kind of thing. One of the things that's been a big change for me over the last few weeks is obviously being able to access my live baits, like my worms, maggots, casters, through Willy Worms. A lot of people keep asking me about it because a lot of people are in the same boat as me. Okay, I still go to the tackle shop every single week. I think you should support your tackle shops wherever you can, but as I've said before, I get in the office before 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't leave till after 6, and that doesn't give me much chance to go and get my bait and stuff. So a lot of people have been asking me about how I've been getting my bait and what that service has been like. So this is my bait delivery from last week. How about that for service? Next day delivery. I ordered this at 2 o'clock yesterday. That was Wednesday. It's now Thursday. This arrived at, I think it was about 20 to 9 this morning. It's been really warm recently, so as you can imagine, you've got to think about all that sort of thing when you're sending bait out, so it stays as fresh as it possibly can be. Packing note in there to tell you what you've got. That's the invoice and stuff. As you can see, the quality of the packing is superb. Really well insulated. There we go. Couple of bubbles in there, and there's the bait. Half a kilo of worm. That's really surprising. That's took me by surprise actually how cold that is. That's really nice and chilled still. And then they're the cool packs that actually come with all the bait that they send out. Obviously, well, you can probably tell how damp that is. That's obviously kept the bait in good condition. And then just half a pint, which was all I ordered. Half a pint of red maggots, nice and packed. You can see how fresh they are, and they're not, I mean, they're still really chilled. The great thing about this as well is obviously if you fish a lot of weekends away and festivals like I do, or if you've got long journeys like you sometimes have when you're going in qualifiers, you can reuse all this kit. That is obviously reusable, so I can literally keep my bait in here. I'm at work now, I've got another 6 hours at work. I can literally pack this back up now. I've checked it, I'm happy with it. Seal that back in the box, and it's going to be staying in my van just as fresh as when it went out yesterday. And obviously those cool packs, I don't know how much they cost for Willy to for them to produce them and send them out, but I can reuse that now. I can simply just put that in my freezer when I get home, and I've got a cool bag, and I can use that for all my future fishing trips. Fantastic service. and the quality is just absolutely fantastic. So that's it, I've got my bait for the weekend now. So when I get home tonight, it's going to be Thursday evening, that's when I'm really going to look at the kit that I'm going to need. So that's when I'll be getting the rods out. I'll make a decision roughly on my kind of approach, and by doing that I'll then be able to select kit that I think I'm going to need for Sunday's match. As you can see, you know, it's top quality bait, and you know, I used it again at the weekend and had a fantastic result. It's been a fantastic service, and it's made a massive difference to just the way that I'm able to manage my week and my competitions. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I put together a live match video for you. I'm still editing that as we speak. That will be on from last week's qualifier right here on YouTube, so get subscribed if you haven't done already. I did do another video, it's kind of a behind the scenes video, and that's over on Patreon TV regarding that particular match, and that might be something you want to check out. The link is below for you. Well, it's the bank holiday weekend, 3 days off. I'm coaching 1 day and then I've got 2 days spare. I've got loads of prep to be doing. We've got the small matter of the World Pairs coming up in less than 2 weeks, so I'm obviously prepping for that. I'm putting some feeder boxes together and all that kind of thing. I've got all my pole gear out. I haven't touched it since the World Pairs last year, so I don't think it'll be too dirty or anything. It should be alright, I think. But yeah, I'll be making rigs up for that, hook lengths and all that sort of stuff. But it's an exciting event to be preparing for, and I know I'm very, very fortunate to be going again. Then when I get back from the World Pairs, it's only 2 weeks then to the Feeder Masters final down at Bow Beach. A big decision for me to have made yesterday was I'm not going to practice for that event. Partly because I don't think, you know, even spending a day or two on there is going to do me a lot of good. It's such a big water, there are so many depths, so many variables. I don't really think I'm going to learn anything from it. It might actually be off-putting as well. So, and by not fishing in a practice, that means I'm going to be going into day one incredibly sharp and ready for it. The other reason is purely I just cannot spare the time off work. You know, I'm still paying off holiday days from last year, never mind this year. You know, thankful if you're watching, Ray, thank you. He's a very understandable boss, but I am indebted to them at the moment. So I'm working lots and lots of hours before work and after work just to make up these hours that I'm borrowing off work. So that again is another reason why I'm not doing uploads more frequent than I am right now. So I'm sorry about that, but it's the only way I can get to these events. And then just 1 week after the Feeder Masters final is the World Club Qualifier on the Gloucester Canal. I'm fortunate enough to be asked to fish for ringer baits again with Steve, Phil, Rob Watton and Waco. We'll be going down there. We will be having some practice down there, and you know, we just missed out again last year on the Trent, which we were absolutely gutted about. But you know, those lads are incredibly professional. They roll with those punches and just kind of write it down in the match diary and then forget it and move on, you know, and that's the only thing you can do. The final, I believe, is in Portugal next year, so that is the next event after the Feeder Masters. So yeah, we'll be gunning for that on the Gloucester Canal, and I've never even seen the place, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that, especially in that sort of company. So that is the next hurdle after the Feeder Masters final. So hopefully that's brought your week up a little bit and just allowed me to check in with you. Thank you so much for so many messages I've had about this. It's much better, thank you very much. There was a couple of stages in Sunday's match when that wind was hammering straight into our bank. I had a bit of trouble just kind of getting out to where I needed to be, but you know, I had a couple of tablets and that kind of eased the pain, and obviously the result made it more than worthwhile, so that was worth the effort. But I'm going to rest it again this weekend, and we'll be firing on all 4 cylinders for the World Pairs. So don't forget, in 2 or 3 days time there's going to be the live match from Southfield being uploaded, so hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a little bit intrigued about how I go through the thought process before a match about how I select the rods and reels and what your initial plan is going to be, you know, if you're interested in that sort of thing, like I said, I did do a video for that from the tattle room where I'm just kind of brainstorming what I was going to be expecting the following day. I did that the night before, so it's nice and fresh and open-minded as well. So if you're interested in that, that is on Patreon TV. The link is directly below. Thank you to the guys who have already signed up for that already. Thanks very much for that, and I hear that you're all enjoying the content, just the kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff, the stuff that I wouldn't really put on here. But if you're into that, check it out, Patreon TV. Well, that's really it for tonight. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. I've got to go and get some more prep done now. There's loads to do. I've got some more editing I need to do for you for that live match, because I know loads of people are waiting to see that. Have a fantastic weekend if you're out on the bank. I really hope you're managing to get out. I hope to bump into 1 or 2 of you. But if I don't, Have a great weekend. The live match will be on in the next 2 or 3 days as soon as I've had a chance to upload it, and whatever happens, there will definitely be another Thursday night vlog for you next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Hit subscribe if you haven't done already, and I'll see you in a couple of days.